It's Chelsea.
It's Nina.
And you're in the Critics' Kingdom. So today we're going to do Rip Girls.
A personal favorite of mine, I must say.
A great film.
So the basic plot of this film is that there is this rough, 12-year-old? 13.
12, 13-ish. Disney's favorite age.
Right? The tweens.
The tweens.
Young girl who is half Hawaiian, and she has lived her whole life in Chicago, but she is returning to Hawaii for the first time in about a decade.
Yeah.
Because she has inherited land
from
and property from her dead mother.
Yep. It's another one of those films.
Another dead mom.
Yeah, another dead mom.
Disney likes those. From her dead mother, and that property is essentially there's a bid for the property, and she's visiting to sort of cement that deal.
Yeah.
And in true fashion, of course, she goes there, and instead of just deciding to take the money and run, she spends a week or two and ends up falling in love with the space and the people, and learns to surf.
Yep.
Explores the surf, explores the water, explores the human connection to the water, to nature, to one another, to her dead mother, who she finds out was also a great surfer.
Yes.
And she just learns, to be at ease.
Yeah,
and
chill.
Yeah, and at one with the waves and the I don't know, the flowers.
The nature, and she just likes to let it.
Aloha.
You gotta let it go.
A lot of alohas.
You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go.
She goes to I don't want to use the word tribal, but
kind of. It's like the whales beach, right? That's what it's called when they come up close to the
it's
shore.
A rite, I guess.
Like a ritual type thing.
It celebrates the arrival of the whales every year. It's very, very sweet, very cute, very very ethnic without being aggressively so.
Yeah,
which
it
is
didn't
nice.
feel OD.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, it felt, there was very little sort of patronizing or talking down to the ethnicity of things.
Right.
And at the same time, not playing up much of the magical, not Negroes, but
Indigenous.
Yeah.
The magical natives.
Which was nice. So yeah, it was a pretty good film. In the end, because of, this it's 2 weeks. I believe.
I think because she in the contract or in the land agreement or whatever that her mom had laid out, it was you have to stay at the stay on the land for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, and it's a plantation, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of land. It's not just she has a little house.
Yeah, it is they want to build a resort.
Yeah, that's how big it is. It's a lot of land.
And she owns beachfront too.
Yeah,
she owns up until the beach, which is why they want that whole span. Yeah, but she essentially, and when it comes down to it, she opts not to sign.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. In the middle of it, she does get a little. We have a few sort of big moments.
Right.
Important things to note. Her father is a lame. That's the kindest way to put it. Her father's a lame. So while her mother's dead, she is actually, raised in a 2-parent household because I guess her father remarries pretty early.
He must, because she seems very comfortable with that woman.
Yeah, with that woman.
That woman is very nice, by the way. She's not an evil stepmother.
She is not at all.
But
she's quite, and she has some great lines in the film. But yeah, so she is not allowed out of her house, really. Her father. So So when her mother's death happened because her mother loved to surf, and her mother went out on
on the waves with a friend.
Yeah, on a day when the waves were crazy. No, she goes out without her friend.
Oh right,
on a day when the waves are crazy, and she just ends up having an accident. I think her body's never found.
Yeah. Lost to the depths of the sea,
as tends to happen. So her father therefore becomes crazy protective of his at the time 2-year-old child.
Like she's Bubble Boy. She can't go outside.
Yeah, but even Bubble Boy, he just had to be in a bubble. She can't, because this makes sense
she
in
can't
a film
do any sports or anything.
Yeah, she's at Hawaii and she says she wants to go to the beach, and he's absolutely not. And she's I'm not even gonna get in the water. I literally just want to be on the beach. And he's no. And it's but it's Hawaii.
Yeah,
you can't.
That's why you go there.
That's whack pops.
Yeah.
And her stepmother has to be the one who's
it doesn't make any sense.
She's not a child.
We're on an island that's known for their beaches.
Yeah, you gotta let her live a little bit. So yeah, I guess there's a part or an aspect to which in the beginning, she's fascinated when she sees the other kid surfing on the beach for the first time. She's intrigued by it because she isn't allowed to do anything, and she's from Chicago. There's no surfing in Chicago.
Right.
At least that I know of. I don't know if people hit up the Great Lakes.
They have that fake beach, but that's in Chicago. But I don't think you could ever surf on there. I'm sure somebody will correct us if we're wrong. I'm sorry, I'm not from there.
I have not visited.
Sorry to that city.
So, apologies for any offense we may have caused.
If you can surf on that fake beach, don't let us know.
On that fake beach.
No, because it's like a man-made beach. It's so weird. Anyways.
Yeah, so she's intrigued. But then I think that there's also this aspect of, sort of rebelliousness.
Yeah.
But very light rebellion. She's still very adherent to her parents. She tells them more things than she doesn't.
Right.
Even when she has her, not tantrums.
Yeah.
Because it is justified.
It's all justified.
But even when she has her little, outbursts of, emotion.
Right.
And is reasonably upset at her parents for things like not telling her how her mother died.
Yeah.
Because her father's crazy.
Also, how have you avoided that conversation all these years? That was my question. That had to come up at least once.
I mean... it's just I just imagine it's one of those parents who who they just shut you down.
Yeah.
Even when you know that something is
you'll
not
find
true.
out when you get older type.
Yeah, my mom used to do that with one of my favorite stories is when she did that when I was little, and I looked at my mom, I was like, "Oh, mommy, you're light skinned," and she looked at me and she was like, "No, I'm not." And I remember being 7 and being just but you are. But you are. And she just repeated, "No, I'm not." And it's that was the end of the conversation. And it, never came up again. And I just understood that, my mother wasn't light-skinned. I wasn't allowed to think anything about my mother being light-skinned. So I imagine it was a situation like that with this clearly very respectful child who was told, maybe asked, and dad was just it's not time.
Right.
And she was just huh?
She's I'm not going to question it.
Yeah, so she just let it be. All right, fine, I guess I don't get to know anything about my mom. Forever. It's...
Forever, ever.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Don't sue us, please. But yeah, no, I think overall it's a great story of multi-generational friendships.
Yeah, because that's the other sort of big part of it. Is that her mother's best friend had a daughter, I guess around the same time that her mother did, named Gia.
Yes.
That child's name. And, as opposed to our main character. Yes, Sydney. Thank you for that. Apologies to you, Sydney, for forgetting your name for that moment. But yeah, so as opposed to Sydney, Gia is raised on the island. Like, her mother never left. Her mom now, like, makes surfboards.
Yep.
Which is actually really cool.
It is.
Like, kudos on Disney. That's a great profession to give.
That's a really good profession.
Her mom. But, so, like, they were... Gia's mom, Sydney's mom were best friends. Sydney's dad took her away.
Right,
to Chicago when she was 2 after the accident happened. So Sydney had no contact with Gia's mother.
Right.
But I think they were also best friends because of a proximity situation. So Gia's mother spent a lot of time on, like, that estate, that property, knows the property really well.
They grew up on it, I think.
Yeah. And so when Sydney is due to come back to, like, have to visit the property before going there, like, Gia's mother sort of encourages Gia
to become friends with Sydney.
Yeah, to stumble upon her by chance.
Right.
But
just
not.
to see if they can convince her to not give up the land.
Exactly. But through the method of, showing her a good time. And so, like, that is how Gia and Sydney meet. Although Sydney is not aware of that.
Right. Yeah, Sydney just thinks she's met a new friend.
Yeah. Her arguably first friend.
Yeah, we don't know if
that she can spend real time with.
We don't know if she actually have friends in Chicago. All they ever talk about is, like, you're taking computers and taking photographs. Please keep in mind, this came out in, I think, like, 98 or 99, so...
Yeah, so it's like...
It was an early time.
Yeah, another one of the movies of, like, Disney on the forefront of tech.
Right.
Like, all these kids.
Exactly.
With their IBM.
Their IBMs.
But, yeah, so she essentially thinks that, like, it's an organic relationship. And that becomes a problem later on in the film, obviously, towards, end of second act when she finds that out. And it's the thing that, like, almost makes her sell, because she's like, I hate this place. Like, no one ever told me that my mom, like, died because of the waves. Y'all have me out here surfing on these waves. My dad was right. Like, I should stay inside.
Right.
And take bad pictures of things from afar.
Oh, yeah, that's another through line of this is that apparently she's a photographer, but all of her pictures suck. So we were very confused by that.
At all.
Like, even by, like... that 2000 late 90s standards, it wasn't.
I mean, because the way that they do it is that they do so you're watching it and they'll do, like, the way that Disney does it is that you'll hear, like, a click, like a and then there's a still
and then there's
of
a
whatever's been
photo.
happening, but it's a blurred still of, it's like you could have stopped the tape at any moment.
Yeah.
And you always chose the blurriest, most uninteresting angles.
It's honestly the part that made no sense to me, because I was like, you could have even, like, just taken a still version and then, like, made it black and white or something, and that literally would have been
it would have been so much better.
We would have believed
But that's not what they chose to do.
No.
I don't know. I guess they spent all their budget on, like...
Going to Hawaii.
Going to Hawaii. And, like, that nice-ass surfboard that she has, that was her mother's. It was a very nice surfboard. And, like, all the water to make the kids look wet. But
that's all the money.
I guess that's where all the money went, because they
they
did
said,
not.
You know what, y'all are going to get some movie stills. And not even good ones.
Not even good ones. So, yeah, side note.
Yeah, that's a side note. She's a photographer extraordinaire.
Yeah, so... She finds out and she's like, oh, like, I'm gonna stay inside. Like, y'all suck. I thought you were my real friends. None of you are my real friends. Not even you, Kona. Kona is the name of her love interest.
Her little baby.
Her little boo thing.
Yeah.
He's a surfer as well, but he's broken his arm because he also skateboards.
And so all he does is skateboard. Basically.
Now all he does is skateboard and, like, watch her from afar on the beach. In a non-creepy way, though. He's very sweet.
He has a very nice ramp, like, right above the ocean.
Yeah,
like,
it's really dope.
Kind of insane.
Yeah, and he helps out Gia's mom in the surfboard shop, which is, like,
he's like an apprentice.
Again, really dope.
Yeah.
He fixes her mom's surfboard for her after she breaks it in a riptide.
Yeah.
Because she gets a little too big for her britches.
A little bit too big. He also draws her on it, which is really cute.
Yeah, a little cartoon Sydney riding the waves under her mom's, like, I forget exactly what the name is, but her mom's, like, nickname.
Yeah, I forgot what her mom, I think it's Nani? Lani?
No, not Leilani.
It's not Leilani.
But it's something of that nature.
It's, something in that vein, but
yeah, so she's upset. She's like, even Kona was in on it. And she's like, oh, screw this place. Like, I'm gonna sell it. Everyone here sucks. I don't care if they make it a resort. I hope they don't let you on it. And then she goes, but then she can't bring herself to do it. And it is mostly because I think she sort of realizes, and Gia tries to be very adamant about the fact that, you know, it may have started off as an orchestrated interaction.
Right.
But it's actually grown quite organically in those 2 weeks, and Gia has grown to, like, care about her and, like, really like her, and, like, wasn't expecting to like her, think she was cool, or be invested in her being invested in the space, and, like, her learning about her mom, and...
Right.
Because Gia's... And it's also an interesting thing, because I think Gia is also learning about her mom, too.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just this, like, organic little friendship that builds, that goes through its first, like, baby hurdle, and then... They come together in the end.
G is also the one that teaches her to surf, also.
Right. This is actually very important.
Yeah, G is the one that, like, is like, come on, girl, get on a board. And then teaches her everything she knows.
And gives her, like, pineapple for the first time.
She does. She basically was
like...
It's
a great little moment.
Sis, you're Hawaiian. Why are you not eating pineapple? Ooh, they felt
and
so bad
teaches
for that
her how to,
girl.
like... I don't know if it's technically... You would know this better than I would. Like, if it's technically luau. But
oh, when they were dancing hula?
Yeah.
Yeah, they hulaed a little bit. It was
there
cute. It was cute. At a luau, but yes.
Yes.
At the celebration.
Yeah. Teach her how to do it. Like, it's very sweet.
Yeah.
It's very, very sweet. A very sweet sweet friendship.
But yeah, I think...
Yeah, those are the big... And then something else just to note. The writing in this film is actually quite good.
Yeah.
Like, the dialogue is
very well written.
The dialogue is very believable, but not repetitive, and not easy. Like, they didn't just shoot... There aren't a lot of moments of people doing that thing of, you know, something like, oh yeah, you should get on a surfboard, and it's like, and then someone responds and they're like, I should, or like, yeah, that'd be cool, or like, there's not that.
Yeah.
Which, I think...
They didn't dumb it down just because it's a kid's movie,
and I think from what we've watched, like, I feel like a lot of Disney films go into that trap.
They do. No. They do. You can tell. No, this is like
because this is back when they still didn't pay writers. This is like before that writer's strike 10 years ago.
Yeah,
you know, it's like before that one. This is back when so writers, you know, they were just
out here still stuck in Disney's basement. But these ones, they got the good ones this time. They got the ones all the way deep in.
These are the ones who were trying to write themselves out the basement.
Right. They were trying to slowly get out the Disney basement.
So that was pretty cool. But so those are the...
those are like the broad strokes. I will say overall, this is actually a very good ode to Hawaiian culture, which, I mean, obviously Disney came back to, as we saw in Moana. And then they did before in Lilo and Stitch. But I will say they're pretty good at, like, capturing it without making it seem, you know, just, like, I think, like Nina was saying, just not making it too aggressive or, like, too, like, overdone. But this was a really good, like, it's a good balance that they struck, where it seems like it's authentic, but it's not something where it veers too far to the left.
Yeah, I think...
Which is easy to do.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely agree and think that that's exemplified, I think, sort of first and foremost, by the fact that, at least when I think of this movie, even before we rewatched it, when I thought of Rip Road, I didn't think of it as a film about Hawaii. Or it's like, I always remember it's about like this girl who surfs.
Right.
And she goes back home. Like it's a story about homecoming, about exploration of like self and place, of like starting a new adventure, of like finding familiar or feeling familiar things in a new space, and like exploring that phenomenon.
Right.
Because it is a phenomenon about being connected to, ancestors and past, and just connectivity in general, like being a part of a chain, touching an element, trying a new skill, like all of those things. And I remembered all of that, and I think I really loved it because of all of that. And I knew that it like took place in Hawaii, but it wasn't about Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I think that that's, in all movies, that's a hard balance to strike. To make something that is so about a place, or to make something that is so rooted in its place, where it's like, this could only happen here.
Right.
But, like, it doesn't lean into any type of, like, characterization, whether good or bad, or, like, stereotypical, or, like, surface viewing and exploration of that space, or that topic, or that, like, point of view.
Right.
So that was really nice and pleasant and sort of refreshing.
Yeah. No, thus far, I think in the films we watched of the cultural kind, the Disney Channel original movies of the cultural kind, they haven't really veered that, which is, it's just very interesting, I think, given the time periods, because it's like a lot of like mainstream movies that came out in like 2000 or 99 or 98. Well,
I think that's the appropriate way to describe it.
Yeah, you were gonna get the caricature, and I think it's very nice to see that, like, even on like a little TV film, that it was like, no, we're gonna go beyond that. And I don't know if it was that maybe they have like cultural consultants or what, but it's like it comes across very well.
Yeah. And I wonder though, like, there's a part of me that wonders if maybe the like, because it's a TV film. And because it's a like kids TV film, like, it's so specific that they get the space to do that.
Yeah.
They get the space to like not have to play into any expectations, or like not have to, like, I'm sure everyone, TV, network TV at the time, cable TV at the time, it's like, all right, you're making content to get people to watch so that you can sell ads. Like, that is the basic trajectory of what you're doing. So yes, you do care how many people watch it and how many people are invested in it. But it's a little bit different than, like, getting people to get up and go to a theater to pay to see the film.
Right.
And getting parents to, like, get up and go to a theater with their kid and pay to see the film.
Right.
Because the kid just has to change a channel. So, like, there's a freedom where you don't have to pander as much. You just you don't have to pander to any expectations, whether those expectations are rooted in good, like fundamentally good or fundamentally bad things, and like portrayals of difference and others in the world.
Yes.
But yeah, that was really cool. I think I really liked how this film, like, I really like the exploration aspect of it. And so, as I was saying before, like, there are all of these different ways in which exploration is key. I love, like, The Odyssey is one of my favorite books of all time, so I am a sucker for stories about, like, the return home. And I'm, I am a first generation, like, island immigrant child myself. So I, like, particularly connect with this idea or this story of, like, returning to a place that is deeply, deeply a part of you and has deeply dictated, like, almost everything about who you are and how you've lived your life, but is also not somewhere that you are anywhere, like, it also isn't somewhere that you're actually that familiar with, in sort of the real way, and yet also, like, connecting with it on a level of, like, this is home. Like, that's how I am. Like, I refer to, like, where my parents came from as home, even though I was born and raised in New York City. So like, I liked the way that they talk about that, but they approach it from this idea of exploration, from this idea of she goes there and every nook, every cranny, every new blow of the breeze, even just like being on the beach and seeing not just what the beach looks like and not just how pretty the water is, but seeing how people interact with the beach, how people in that space interact with the beach, watching the way that the kids eat things like pineapple and seeing how they sit and they like braid each other's hair, like with their surfboards, and how they play with each other, like all of that, and how that becomes a fuel and a channel through which you explore yourself, and you explore like what these words mean, what these words like home and nature and element and connect, like what these sort of fundamental ideas mean to you and to you as a part of a larger entity. I thought that the film did a really good job of just subtly carrying that through the entire time. And I like that it doesn't... like, let's be very clear. By the end of this film, Homegirl is not a surfer.
No. Oh, no. By
like,
no means.
She barely surfs in the film. Like, Homegirl learns how to, like...
She can barely get up on the board.
She can, like, paddle. she could boogie on out there. Mm-hmm. But it's also a longboard, which is, like, much harder to learn. Yeah, than a regular one. So it's just, like, she is not an expert in that, and we've already established that she's not good at photography. She's not actually good at it. Like, she might be like good at graphic design. There's a little moment in it where she does some like elementary Photoshop.
There is, yes.
I think it is in Paint though.
It's not in Photoshop. But that's probably
but
what
that's
people were
exactly
using
that's
at
what
that
it like. I remember Paint. I loved me some Paint.
MS Paint was great.
Yo, that spray can joint, like, could get it. But like, so she could be a graphic designer, but I really like that. By the end of the film, like, she isn't a perfect surfer. Like, she hasn't gotten to a place where she is an expert, or it feels like she's conquered this great skill, which I think a lot of kids' movies and a lot of Disney Channel movies, like, tend to do more. Yeah. Like, I think about other, like, I think about other films. Like, I think about, like,
Right on Track and, like...
Double Team.
Yeah, it's like, you can clearly see that, like, when they were little, they found their thing, and then they just
and they stuck with it. And even when it's about, like, stepping out of that comfort zone, like, you would do, like, your High School Musicals. Like, even when it's about stepping out of your comfort zone and, like, trying something new, then you excel at that new thing. Right. And then I think it suggests this idea that, like, that's what makes you secure with, like, trying a new thing. Mm-hmm. And I really like that in this, like, she isn't necessarily a great surfer, but she doesn't shy. Like, it's not actually about the surfing, right? In the same way, it's not actually about the photography. Like, it's about recording things. It's not actually about the graphic design. It's about, like, being able to, like, manipulate space and time and image, because she's someone who has lacked at various points in her life space or time or image or connectivity and, like, all of those things. And I really like that, sort of, like, in that larger vein. Like, if there is anything that is conquered or anything that she, like, learns to excel at in this, it is sort of, like, accepting the exploration that it's going to take for her to, like, fully come into herself, being and, like, understand that, like, life is about, like, growth and change and, like, heartache and heartbreak and, like, terrible things and accidents, but finding the, like, plus and finding the other side and, like, living in sort of that sort of cyclic nature of, like, up and down, good and bad. And I just think that that's a really cool, and I think it's really cool to do that with, like, surfboards. Yeah. Like, well done.
and even figuring that out at, like, 12, 13, when most people figure that out at, like, 25.
If ever.
Yeah, they're just...
I got some 45-year-old cousins that still,
What is my purpose. But yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a very good exploration of self and probably one of Disney's best versions of it. Especially seeing that from a female perspective, I think is also really cool.
Yeah.
And a young woman of color.
Mm-hmm, which is also very nice. Who's, like, gorgeous, by the way. Like, she's so pretty.
I mean, Camila Belle.
It's wild.
We know. So I think, would you show this to your kids?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even, like, this is one of those ones that I'd probably, like, shove down their throats. Like, even if they didn't want to watch it, I'd probably make them watch it. Also, just because I also really do like, a big part of it that I like, you just mentioning that, you know, it's from a female perspective. Like, I like that, like, this passes the Bechdel test, like, so well.
Mm-hmm.
There's so, like, even, like, the whole thing with her and Kona, it's like, Kona is, like, pining after homegirl, and she, like, kind of thinks he's cute, and, like, is kind of down for it, but she's not, like, hung up on it. Yeah, she's not desperate. She, like, knows that he's kind of down, and she's kind of just, like, she's into it, but she's also biding her time, you know? Like, that's not the chief important thing.
In her life.
And it's not a film that's very concerned with, or, not even concerned, that's the wrong way to put it, but, like, appearance and sort of the usual, like, female performative traits, at least of the West, like, are not explored or even, like, referenced. Like, it's just not about that.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't do it, like, it's not anti that. It's not them being like, oh, like, I'm a surfer chick, like, surfer chicks don't, like, I don't care, like, if my braid gets, like, messed, like, comes out, like, I don't care if I did, like, it doesn't go hardcore, like, against those things. It's literally just, like, it's just not a factor.
Right.
It's just not what the movie's about. Like, it's literally just about her exploring this. And I think that is, and, like, yes, for its time, but I think just generally, like, it is so rare. Like, even in Harry Potter, you have that moment of Hermione, like, coming down the stairs and, like, oh my god, she's beautiful.
Right.
It's like, that doesn't happen in this. It's very rare to find.
Nobody changes physically.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Or has to at any point.
Right.
And that's very rare for stories told from female perspectives or about female characters. Right. Especially about multiple female characters. You know, like, the stars of this film are, like, this little girl, her soon-to-be best friend.
Gia,
and their mothers who are best friends. Like, it's just not about that at all. And I really, really love that. And I think that's, like, that's the type of, like, subliminal messaging that I want my kids to get real early. Yeah. And then continue to get over and over again. Like, I want them to be doing silent comparisons between this and every other female story that, like, forces them to engage with that.
Well, and because the more that you think about it, the more you realize what I like to call the straight hair moments, which is typically when the female protagonist, you know, she has curly, frizzy hair, whatever, wavy hair.
Shout out to On My Block.
Yeah, you know, suddenly emerges and has this long, straight hair. It's finally been tamed. She put a little bit of makeup on, took off the glasses, and now she's hot. Like,
and now she is an object for your pleasure.
Right. Like, before then, she was just smart. And so I think, but those are so common. I think in all types of film, like, that's not even Disney specific. I think you see that everywhere. Though what comes to mind immediately is the Princess Diaries moment when that happens, but that's beside.
But that is a great moment.
It is. Like, no. And the thing is you're rooting for
this it. And this,
right?
Gives you,
and you learn to root for it.
Yeah.
But I think that just sends a lot of subliminal messages, especially to girls. Yeah. You know, just about what's expected of you in terms of the standards of beauty. But this movie doesn't have to deal with that at all. But I agree with you. I think I would really want to show this film, especially if I have little girls, also if I have boys, you know, just to kind of be like, this is a great movie that talks about kids and, like, what it's like to be growing up in, like, a real way that's not pandering to you or making you, you know. I also feel like a lot of movies pander or do this whole, like, she's an angsty teen thing, and I'm just like, not saying people aren't. I do think people are angsty
I was
teens
an
because
angsty teen.
hormones.
Yeah.
Like, it's
That's a
actually,
thing.
like, a natural thing.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of movies tend to do that. And I think this one, it might also be because she wasn't quite old enough. Like, she's 12 or 13, I think. But there's none of that here, really, either. Like, it's like everything is, not saying angsty teens aren't justified. They are. But I think everything here is, like, it makes sense. Like, everything is, there's no, like, questioning. When she, like, says something, you're like, yeah, no. Like, your dad is annoying. And, like, I completely understand why you want to get out from under his thumb. But, yeah, I would also show it to my kids.
Yeah. And definitely recommend.
10 out of 10 recommend.
Yeah. 10. Oh, like miles. Like, this is, like, alright, so here's, like, Smart House is, like, amazing, right?
Smart House is amazing. Yes.
And, like, obviously there are others, but, like, I would say, like, right now, this is probably the favorite of mine that we've rewatched as of now. Just because, like, I don't know, like, it just holds up.
It holds up very well.
Like, it's 2020, and it's still a great film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not slow.
Mm-mm.
It's not weird. Like, it's still fun. And it has its little things that you can, like, pick. It has its lines that you can pick out. It has its great little thing about how, I don't know if any of you have realized this, but I have now come to fully appreciate and understand that, like, in all Disney Channel films, like, involving water, and this is great because it's not even about, like, it being in Hawaii, it's just, like, when there's water and there's, like, any type of, like, mysticism in the water, they do this thing where every time someone, like, touches the water, you get this weird, like, pitchy wind chime sound. And it's strange because, like, I don't think wind chimes are, you know, like, a part of Hawaiian
They're not.
sound.
They're not, like, at all.
They're not, like, particularly Polynesian, but Disney has decided that the wind chime is the sound of the mystic, and I am about that.
It is. Anytime somebody
it's quite
says something profound, they're like, your mother is here.
And you
then you just say,
It's like,
you gotta hammer home the point, you know?
right? Yeah.
Just in
So,
case.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah, Rip Girls, we recommend you should rewatch it if you haven't. It's on Disney+.
If you have kids, make
Yes.
them watch it.
If
Like,
you have-
make them watch it.
Make them watch it. They will enjoy it, I'm sure.
Yeah. And, yeah, shout out to Camila, because she did that.
She did. She really did. Shout out to her. Shout out to the writers. Shout out to everybody involved in this movie. It was...
Well
Y'all
done.
did it. Y'all did it. This was the goal of Disney Channel original movies, I feel.
This is like the top of the basement stairs.
Yes.
I think.
This is how they slowly wrote themselves out.
Shout out to writing yourself
They started
out.
getting more than a crust of bread for dinner.
Excellent.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Critics Kingdom. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and SoundCloud so you can stay up to date, as well as interacting and letting us know what you guys think on social media. You can find us on Twitter at Critics Kingdom and on Instagram at The Critics Kingdom. We're excited to talk to you again next week.